You know that feeling when everything falls apart? The deals don't go through. The relationships fall apart. Your performance is subpar. You're rejected or misunderstood. When everything falls apart, it feels terrible. And in those moments, we just want to give up, quit, or get out of there. What stands in the way becomes the way. In this episode of the Stoic Philosophy Podcast, I want to show you how Stoicism turns failure into fuel. But what if instead you could find fuel in those moments? What if you could take the ashes of failure and disappointment and make them forge your character? What if everything falling apart was actually falling into place? Well, imagine that you spilled coffee on someone. You say sorry, and you walk away feeling embarrassed. When we look at our lives through the lens of Amor, Fati, we can take responsibility for what happened because it was meant to happen. Obstacle is the way. Let's say you grew up playing sports. What did you do after practice? Did you sit around and whine about how tired you were? No, you probably met your friends at the local diner and talked about the game. You relived the successes and you dissected the failures. You probably even made fun of each other for missing a layup or striking out. You can complain about how difficult the circumstances are, or you can embrace them and call them easy. After all, if everything is easy, then nothing is impossible. What's more important, your reputation or your principles? Your comfort or your character? Fix the fences, replant the crops, clean out the silt. Take action. That's where the real work begins. Every day is a new chance to prove yourself wrong. Don't waste your potential. Don't waste your talents. Don't waste your life. So don't waste it. Your support makes this podcast possible and keeps me accountable to putting out great content every week. And if you really want to dig into Stoic philosophy, pick up a copy of Ryan Holiday's Obstacle is the Way. Thank you for listening. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads. I just ask that you consider supporting this podcast. If you want to help us reach our goal of 1,000 supporters by the end of the year, you can learn more at our website. You weren't afraid to tell your friends what they could have done better because they wanted to get better, just like you. Bounce forward. Why? Because everything is working out perfectly for us. Prove them wrong. Prove yourself wrong. You can sign up totally for free at dailystoic.com. And if you want to continue your education, we have 2 courses available. The first is our free email course, which is an introduction to Stoic philosophy. You can sign up at dailystoic.com/start. The second is our Foundations of Stoicism course, which I created with my friend Mason. This course is our most popular, and it teach you the key ideas of Stoicism in 10 easy lessons. But the Stoics teach us that when everything falls apart, that's when we need to be at our best. Don't just bounce back. We can even take pride in our misfortunes. But instead of complaining, the farmer simply began repairing the damage. He cleaned out the silt that had filled the fields. He replanted his crops, and he fixed the fences that had been knocked over. He lost everything, but by taking immediate action, he was soon back to where he started. By the time the rest of the town had recovered from the disaster, the farmer was already thriving. You only talked about the times you failed or could have done better. If every single failure is an opportunity to get better, and you know that this is true, then why don't you respond to failure with excitement instead of fear? Now, before we finish, I want to share one last quote from Marcus Aurelius. When you rise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. When everything falls apart, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that you're alive. It's easy to get caught up in the details, the ones and the twos. So every morning when you wake up, I want you to pause for a second and think about how precious it is to be alive. Think about how much you have to be thankful for. Think about the people you love, the work you do, the problems you have. Because no matter what happens today or tomorrow or the next day, you can always get through it because you're stronger than you think. What stands in the way becomes the way. What is standing in your way right now? What obstacles have been placed in front of you? Remember that everything that happens is happening for you, not to you. That person might laugh, but you would both feel good. The only question is, what will you do about it? Imagine that you've been training for this moment for your entire life. Every hour you put in, every sacrifice you made, everything you did to prepare for this moment has led you right here. This moment where everything falls apart. So ask yourself, are you ready? Are you ready for what happens next? Are you ready to go back to work? Are you ready to try again? Are you ready to prove them wrong? Why? Because those are the only times that you can improve. The problem is that we don't approach life this way. When we succeed, we celebrate. But when we fail, we get depressed. We're no longer victims. We're agents of our own fates. But what if instead you said, "No worries. I was about to spill that on myself. Thanks for saving me." Why? Because instead of feeling like a victim, you accepted responsibility for what happened. Instead of focusing on how bad it is that you spilled coffee, you focus on how lucky they were that you didn't spill it on yourself. It's a small thing, but we can apply this idea to bigger situations. Marcus Aurelius, who was perhaps the most powerful man in the world at the time he wrote Meditations, opens his book this way: the impediment to action advances action. There are two ideas from Stoicism that will help us in these moments. First, Amor Fati, which is a love of fate or a love of what has happened. You might not be able to see why something went wrong, or why you got sick, or why someone left you, or why you failed that presentation. But in the big picture, everything that happened, including all the bad stuff, was exactly what needed to happen for you to become who you are right now. This doesn't mean that there aren't bad things that happen in the world. Evil people, natural disasters, disease and death. It's easy to blame yourself. It's easy to get stuck. But even within all of that, everything that happens is exactly what needs to happen. Second, obstacle as the way. There's an old saying, man is the only animal that can stumble backwards as well as forwards. So while other animals can only move forward, only humans can step back and learn from their mistakes. When it comes to Amor Fati, we have to remember that everything that happens is exactly what was meant to happen. Why does this help us? What if instead of thinking, "I am so unlucky," you thought, "Everything is working out perfectly," or "I am so lucky that this happened to me"? And this leads to the second idea that can help us when everything falls apart. But here's the weird thing, you probably didn't talk about the times you succeeded. So here's a question for you. Remember what Marcus Aurelius says in Meditations? The impediment to action advances action. You can choose to sit down and whine about what happened, or you can choose to stand up and fix it. When everything falls apart, it's easy to blame others. In his book, Seneca tells a story about a farmer who had his farm destroyed by a flood. The same is true for us. When everything falls apart, we need to stop complaining and start doing. If you ever want to remember these ideas, you can grab a copy of Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Every day you have the opportunity to write a new story, to forge a new path, to take a new direction. Every day I send out a newsletter with a quote, some news, and a book recommendation. Thank you to our supporters. If you liked this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps other people find this podcast.